الدواهي تدوسين المصاحب بالتراب.
8 minutes past 7. Welcome back to Sabahul Muslim on Radio Islam International. Our question for this morning is about so-called halal-friendly restaurants. People sometimes go crazy just wanting to try out new restaurants that are, making waves on social media. Everyone's going there. People are talking about it. It's not a halal restaurant, but it's deemed halal friendly. Either they classify themselves as halal friendly, or for some reason or the other, it's perceived to be halal friendly. It could be a restaurant, it could be a kitchen within a well-known hotel. So recently there was a controversy due to one restaurant where there was an incident where a Muslim person found a particular item or ingredient in her meal, and when she did further investigation, she found that was it was basically a pork product in a halal friendly meal. And there was a huge uproar on Facebook, and the restaurant was called out, and they put out a statement saying in future they would be more careful. They would separate items on their menu with a sign to indicate which dishes were completely halal versus those that were not. But this big backlash and this whole controversy has brought to the fore the question: why are we eating at so-called halal-friendly places as opposed to eating at fully halal places in the country that has so many eating facilities and opportunities? There's hardly anywhere in the country now where, even if you're traveling, that you won't find a totally halal restaurant or fast food cafe or something like that. Either it's well known within the community that this is Muslim owned and it's halal, or it's certified by one of the halal certifiers. Maybe 30, 40 years ago during the apartheid era, there were not that many options. And people would go to haram restaurants and purchase maybe fish or a margarita pizza, or chips, only chips, and say, well, we are purchasing items, or we're ordering items that are halal, in a restaurant which is haram. I understand that was something that used to be done by some during those years. I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying that at least at that time, one could understand that there were not that many options. Now, I mean, there's just so many options wherever you go in the country. Some places more, some places less. But why is it that this concept of halal friendly remains an option for Muslims? Sometimes you need to, I don't know, maybe at work, take your co-workers out to lunch or whatever, and some Muslims seem to be comfortable serving at tables that serve alcohol, serve haram food. So no, I'm eating my food, they're eating their food. Whereas if you took them to a halal restaurant, they would have no issue. Perhaps with the exception of them wanting alcohol, but they would have to understand. Why is it as Muslims we find this to be okay? Not everyone, but some of us. I'm trying to understand what's the rationale behind it, because it's difficult to understand what's the logic behind it. Why put yourself in a position where non-halal food is consumed on the same table where you're sitting, where alcohol is consumed on the same table where you're sitting, where you going to a haram restaurant or a haram kitchen and purchasing or ordering items which you assume that are halal, and that the restaurant or the kitchen is halal friendly, or that they are neutral items like chips or a margarita pizza. But like we've been educated so many times in the past, there are no so-called neutral items. The oil that is being used, the utensils, the kitchen utensils, the cutlery, there's so much of contamination and cross-contamination, even in the frying of an egg. Sometimes you may be staying at a hotel and you go down and you say, well, I'm not in the mood to just only have cereal and boiled eggs and toast and tea. I want to have an egg. I'm used to on a Sunday morning having an egg or having an omelette, and you tell them, okay, fry it for me separately. If it's done absolutely separately under your eye with totally different utensils, that's one thing. But many instances, people have seen that they said, no, we make it separately, and all of a sudden they're using that same lifter from the one pan on another pan. They thought just having it on a separate pan would be good enough. The gloves with which the chef was working, which has touched haram meat, is now touching the same item that they're preparing for you. It's not really their fault. They don't understand these things, right? They don't understand. They think it's only got to do with the actual meat, or it's only got to do what would not. Many non-Muslims think that haram means no pork, no alcohol. That's what they think. It's not their fault. They're not expected to know better because they're not Muslim. We are expected to behave better. So we take up this topic for discussion, and we ask you to share your thoughts. Why do people go to halal friendly restaurants? If you are one of those people, in your own mind, why do you feel that it's correct? And what are your thoughts about this? The WhatsApp number 072 786 1548. The question is also up on Facebook and Twitter, and you can communicate via those platforms with us. Right, coming up in a bit, our hadith for the morning. We are scheduled then at about 20 past 7 to speak to the Deputy General Secretary of COSATU about COSATU and SAFTU, two of the largest trade unions, planning a nationwide strike for next week. Mawaja comes with the competition. Then after that, we have the Africa report. Kenya elections will focus will focus in the report, or will feature predominantly in the report. Murray Harris joins us on the line. The new Ipsos poll says that the ANC is collapsing as a majority party. People are despondent because of the accelerating cost of living. We continue the discussion about Khadija radiallahu anha. Today we talk about her marriage to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then towards the end of the program, we talk about the escalating cost of gender-based violence. The normal figure we hear about is 36 billion per annum, but they're saying it's much more than that if you look at associated costs and indirect costs that result from gender-based violence. So that's what you can look forward to in terms of our lineup this morning between now and 8 o'clock, inshallah. It's just gone 7:15, rather 14 minutes past 7 to be more accurate. Time now for this morning's hadith.
Hadith discussions on Sabahul Muslim with Maulana Sulaimaan Ravat.
عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم المسلم أخو المسلم لا يخونه ولا يكذبه ولا يخذله كل المسلم على المسلم حرام عرضه وماله ودمه التقوى ها هنا بحسب امرئ من الشر أن يحقر أخاه المسلم رواه الترمذي وقال حديث حسن. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu narrates that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, a Muslim is the brother of another Muslim. He does not cheat him, lie to him, or abandon helping him. The honor, wealth, and life of every Muslim is unlawful to another Muslim. Piety is here. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam pointed to his chest. It is sufficient to be regarded as a sin when a person despises his Muslim brother. So when Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, at-taqwa ha-huna, that piety is here, and pointed to his chest, he was indicating that taqwa is an internal quality. Only Allah knows whether a person has taqwa or not, and to what extent they have taqwa. So you should not judge others and despise others based on your own assessment or evaluation as to whether they are muttaqi or not, because taqwa is in their hearts. Only Allah knows. And in terms of the other guidelines here, that don't cheat a Muslim, don't lie to a Muslim, don't abandon helping a Muslim, treat a Muslim as your brother. Yeah, the honor, wealth, and life of a Muslim is unlawful to another Muslim. These are the teachings that tie up with the chapter heading of being affectionate, compassionate, and helpful to fellow Muslims. And it shows here that when Muslims practiced on this, that is when we became a powerful force. When we were kind and compassionate and tolerant to each other, and we did not lie and cheat and deceive each other, and we protected the honor and the wealth and the dignity of each other, that's when, as a ummah, we were powerful. And when we abandoned these teachings, that is when we began fighting each other, and we turned our talents towards each other rather than pooling and combining our talents to focus on the common enemy. And the last point here that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned, that you should not treat your Muslim brother with contempt. You should not despise him. Actually, the scholars have written that treating a Muslim with contempt is amongst the greatest of sins, because a Muslim enjoys honor in the sight of Allah. And treating a Muslim with contempt is also a sign of pride, because pride is defined as rejecting the truth and treating others with contempt. So be very careful about how you deal with fellow Muslims. It has an impact on the strength of families, on the strength of societies and communities, and on the strength of the ummah. And it could also diminish your own position in the eyes of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. May Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala grant us the understanding. After the break, we speak to the Deputy General Secretary of COSATU about COSATU and SAFTU planning a nationwide strike for next week.
This is Sabahul Muslim.